Hello, my name is Miss Sarah, and in today's episode of STEAM Club, I'm going to be unboxing our citizen science kits so that you can learn a bit about them and then come to the library to check them out and use them yourselves. So let's start out by talking a little bit about what citizen science is. So citizen science is a movement that connects scientists who are doing research with everyday people in their communities who are interested in getting involved with that scientific research. And you don't have to have any sort of special training or education to participate in these citizen science projects. You just need to be curious and interested in exploring the world around you. So SciStarter is an organization that helps connect these scientists with people in the community by creating a website where people can upload information about their data to answer questions that real scientists have. So these citizen science kits are a way for you to get involved with science right here in Lee County. And this way, we've provided you with all the tools that you'll need to be able to participate, and then you just have to upload your information to scistarter.org, and you can even use our computers here at the library to do so. So let's get into these kits. So we have 3 different kits, and each one of them addresses a real question that is being researched by scientists. So let's dive into our first kit, which is for the project called Measuring Light in the Night. So our first kit that we have is about light pollution. You might have noticed that when you go outside in a parking lot at night with a lot of lights and street lamps, you're not really able to see all that many stars. But if you go out into the countryside, maybe if you're camping or you're just driving out there at night, you'll probably see a lot more stars. And this is due to light pollution. When there's a lot of light around, it blocks our ability to see the stars. And this is something that scientists are interested in researching about how different areas of the country and their different levels of light pollution, and also how that affects our wildlife. Because our animals in our community, they might not be able to navigate as well when there's a lot of light pollution. So knowing things about light pollution can empower scientists and local people in our community to take measures to reduce light pollution to help our wildlife. So let's dive into this kit. In every one of these kits, you're going to start out with a guide that teaches you what's in the kit and how to use it and what sort of information that you'll need to record. And the next thing that you're going to find in all of our kits is a book list of titles both about citizen science and about the specific research topic. So if you really love space, this book list has a lot of great books about space that you can check out right here at Lee County Libraries. We also have some books in here that you can look at while you're doing this research topic. So this book is about what you can see in astronomy from just your backyard using a pair of binoculars or just your eyes. And then we have a couple more. So we have the night sky of North America and the backyard guide to the night sky. So if you're interested in astronomy, this is a great place to start. And the other things that are in here are for the experiment themselves. So the first thing we have is this Planosphere. And I'll tell you a little bit more about how to use this when we get to the part of this where we're going to test these out. But essentially, this is used to help you figure out what constellations are above you, depending on what time of day it is. Next up, we have a red light flashlight. If you can see here on my hand, the light in this flashlight is not the typical light that you have in a flashlight. It's red. And so the nice thing about a red flashlight is that it allows you to see while you're outside at night, but it doesn't ruin your night vision. So you'll still be able to see just as well in the dark, but you'll also be able to use it to look at your planosphere and to take some notes. We also have a pair of binoculars in here so that you can look up at the night sky and see the constellations in a bit more detail. And finally, we have our sky quality meter. And this is going to be how we record how much light pollution there is in the night sky. Our next kit is called Observing Pollinators. And this kit helps you help scientists learn about what sort of pollinators we have in our community. Now, a pollinator is any sort of animal that helps pollinate our plants. You probably know that bees are a really important pollinator, but also lots of other animals are pollinators, like butterflies and bats and birds. And so this kit is all about observing those. And this information will help scientists understand what sort of animals we have in our community and help them keep an eye on numbers in case any sort of change in the local community begins to happen due to pollution or climate change. Just like in the other kit, we have our guide and our book list about books about pollinators. And we have some books in here as well. So we have a book about flowers of the Carolina, which is useful because, of course, pollinators are attracted to flowers. So knowing what kind of flowers we have around can help you when you're taking down information on pollinators. We have this book about planting a garden that helps support honeybees in case you want to start a garden with your parents. And we even have some seeds in here so you can get that garden started. And we also have some materials that have information on pollinators. So we have a flyer about birds and some books and information cards about bees. Now for this kit, you're going to take this observation sheet and mark down any pollinators that you see in a set amount of time. And to do that, we'll use our stopwatch to record the time. And then if you want to see the pollinators better, we have a couple things in here. We have a little magnifying glass, and we have another set of binoculars so that you can really see in detail what those pollinators are up to. We also have some notebooks in here so that you can write down notes about the pollinators you see and leave the notebooks in here for the next people to check out the kit. And that way you can see what other people have found and share your own observations and make this even more of a community event. All right, our last kit is called Exploring Biodiversity. And biodiversity talks about the different plants and animals that live in any area of the world. So everything from trees to plants to animals, anything that you can find in the area is what this kit is looking at. And observing our local wildlife is great for scientists to learn about the different species that live in different areas and any changes we might see in those over time. And it's a great way for you to get to explore Lee County and learn a little bit more about what type of birds we have or what species of trees. Just like the other kits, this kit has some books. So we have a field guide of citizen science and some books about exploring nature. So this one is called Be a Wilderness Detective, and this one is Bug Hunt. In addition, we have some flyers about the sort of plants and wildlife that you'll find in North Carolina and the different regions that you might find them in. And if you open this up, it'll help you identify. So if you see a bird, you can use this guide to try and find out what kind of bird it might be based off of the types of birds that we see often in North Carolina. And going along with that bug hunt book, we have some magnifying glasses in case you want to check out any little critters. We have a little one and one that's a bit bigger. And some more notebooks so that you can record your observations. And finally, the cool thing about this kit is that it actually connects to an app that's called iNaturalist. And on this app, you can post photos of any sort of wildlife that you find and upload it. And other people on the app will help you identify it. So if you were to say, take a picture of a tree and you wanted to know what type of tree it is, then the people on the app would be able to help you identify it. And you're also able to mark on the map where you took that picture to help scientists learn more about our community. So in here we have a bunch of different lenses, and these clip onto your phone so that even if you just have a phone and not a fancy camera, you can take really good quality pictures of any wildlife you see. So these lenses will help you take pictures of birds that are far up in trees or little bugs that you need to zoom in on really close. Now that we're all done opening up those kits and finding out what's inside of them, I'm going to take them to the park so you can come along with me as I use these kits and we can learn about them more together. Now, like I said, I'm going to be taking these to a park, but you can actually use these kits anywhere that it's safe for you to be exploring outside. It doesn't have to be out in a forest. You can do it somewhere more urban. Just so long as it's safe, it's a great place for you to be using our kits. Scientists can learn a lot from the differences in observations of wildlife and light pollution that we find in our more rural areas in a community versus the more urban areas of community. Now let's head to the park. All right, welcome to Kiwanis Family Park. Now that we're here, let's open up these kits and test them out. So first up, I'm going to look at our Light at Night kit. So of course, when I'm filming it, you can tell that it's not actually nighttime. And this does ask that you take your observations at least an hour after the sun sets. So I wouldn't actually be able to take any observations right now because it's still daylight. But for the sake of this video, let's pretend that it's 9 p.m. and it's fully dark outside. The first thing I'm going to do when I am using this kit is I'm going to take out one of the Globe at Night data sheets. And these are inside the kit. You can take a copy and write down your observations. So following through the questions here, the first thing I'm going to do is write when I'm making my observation. So today is January 12th, and I'm going to write down the time, which again, we're saying it's 9 p.m. And next up, I'm going to make some observations about where I'm doing this sky meter test from. So I'm going to write down my address and find the longitude and latitude on my phone. And I can also write down some details. So I would say that I was taking this in a park and that there aren't any lamps that close to me, but there are some in the parking lot. And I would also say that there are a lot of trees around. So those are all things that you would want to record on your observation sheet. Then I would go to the Globe at Night website on sciencestarter.org and find a magnitude chart that resembles my sky and record some information based on that. I'm also going to talk about what the conditions are like. So today it's really cloudy. So if I was doing this at 9 p.m., it would probably still be cloudy. So I could write that down. And then we can use our Planosphere to figure out what constellations should be above me. So how this works is we turn to the date and we turn to the time. So I'm going to adjust my Planosphere to January 12th at 9 p.m. And to do that, I'm going to take my Planosphere and I'm going to turn it until the 9 p.m. tick mark lines up with January 12th. All right, so the 9 p.m. is lined up with January 12th. And again, to do this, we can use our red light flashlight so that even if it were dark, I would be able to see my Planosphere and my data sheet without ruining my night vision. And this allows me to get a sense of what sort of constellations I should be seeing above me right now. So on mine, I have things like Taurus and Aries and the Lynx. And these are all things that I should be able to see. And if I wanted to, I could take out my binoculars and get a better look at them. And finally, I'm going to use my sky quality meter to take a recording. Now, I'm not going to turn it on right now because we don't want to use this during the daytime. But if I were going to be doing it, I'd first want to check that I'm not right behind us. But if I were going to be doing it, the first thing I would want to check is that I'm not directly under a street lamp because we don't want to point this directly at a light source because that can damage it. And I'd want to make sure that I'm not under any tree branches. So I'm not right now. So to turn this on, I simply would hit the start button and sit it down so that it's pointing up, so that this little lens here can point up. And then almost immediately, this is going to display the units of measurement on here and tell me how many units of light are in the sky. So to use this, I would just hit the start button and set it down with this little lens in the top pointing up towards the sky. And almost immediately, it should display a number on the screen that is going to tell us how much light is in the sky. And it can take up to a minute if you're in a really dark area, but since we're probably going to all be taking it in a somewhat urban area, those displays should come up really fast. And now that you're done with that, you can go take this sheet home and log it in to scistarter.org/measuring light in the night to upload your information for scientists to use. After walking around the park a little bit, I have found the perfect plant to use for our Observing Pollinators kit. So the first thing that I'm going to do is take out one of these laminated data sheets and put it in my little clipboard and write down some information. So I've gone ahead and written down today's date and where I am. And then the next step is to identify what kind of plant this is. Let's start out by using some of the materials from the kit. So I'm going to start out by looking in my North Carolina Trees and Wildflower Guide and turning to the Trees and Shrubs section because this is a shrub, and seeing if I can find anything that looks like this tree. All right, I didn't find it in this one, so let's see if I can find it in the Wildflowers of the Carolina Field Guide. So this book is split up by colors, so I'm going to turn to the pink section and flip through and see if I can find it. Now, I wasn't actually able to find this plant in either of my guides, and that's because this is actually camellia, which is not native to North Carolina. It's actually an Asian plant. So if you're not able to find the name of your plant in the guides either, that's all right. You can just skip that question and maybe you can use some search tools on the internet to find it out later. Or you could check out our Exploring Biodiversity kit and use the tools in that to figure it out. Now that I've identified my type of plant, the next thing I'm going to do is count how many flowers I can see on this shrub. And if it has a bunch in little bunches, I'm going to want to take my little magnifying glass and really look up close and make sure that I count accurately. Okay, after doing a quick count, I found that this shrub has about 22 fully flowered flowers on it. I'm not counting the little buds because they're not done yet. And now I'm ready to start observing pollinators. Now, you might be thinking, I already mentioned in this video that it is the middle of January when I'm filming this, which means that there aren't that many pollinators out and about. But that's actually not a problem. Scientists can learn a lot from finding out that there are no pollinators right now, because that reflects how different levels of pollinators are affected by the change of the season. So this is really still quite useful information to provide for our scientists. All right, it's been 5 minutes, and like I guess, I actually didn't see any pollinators during this time, but that's okay. When I go back to the library, I still can enter this information into scistarter.org and share that observation with scientists. Like I mentioned earlier, this plant was not actually in either of our flower field guides because it's not native to North Carolina. And it's important that we are able to identify the plants for the Observing Pollinator kits. So you might be wondering, how can I go about doing that? Fortunately, I happen to recognize this plant, but if I didn't, it would be a great time for me to use the tools from our Exploring Biodiversity kit. As I mentioned before, this kit works by connecting with the app iNaturalist. So I have iNaturalist open on my phone, but it's also okay if you don't have it on a mobile device. You can actually use it on our computers at the library, and just take a picture and then upload it to the computer later. But since I have it on my phone, I'm going to go ahead and open it up and let it see where I am, which is at the park. And then I'm going to go over to the Observe tab and click on Camera so that I can take a photo of this plant. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to open up my lens kit and take out one of the lenses so I can get a really zoomed in photo of this plant. All right, and now that I have that lens on my phone, I'm going to take a picture of the flower and use this photo to upload to iNaturalist. And now that I have this photo in iNaturalist, I can click this button, What Did You See? And it is going to come up with some guesses of what it thinks his plant might be based off of the images in its database. So it is guessing accurately that this is a camellias. But if I wanted a bit more information on this, or if I wasn't sure just based off of the auto recommendations what it was, I can click the share button at the bottom of my screen, and then that picture will be shared with other people who use this app, and they can help me identify what this flower is. All right, now that I have tried out all 3 of our kits, I'm going to head back to the library to finish the final step. So I'll see you there. Thank you all so much for coming to the park and exploring with me. I hope that you had a great time learning a bit more about our citizen science kits and how to use them. And I hope that you will come to the library to check one out. Now, before I go return my citizen science kits that I have checked out, I got to do one last thing, and that is complete a survey. So each of our kits has a survey in there that lets us know about your experience with these kits. So I'm going to fill mine out, and then I'll get these back checked in. Thank you all so much for watching STEAM Club. I'll be back next month with a brand new science topic. Bye for now.